Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise under Standing Order 33, Sub-Article 1, to seek the leave of the House in order to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance regarding the ravaging drought situation in the pastoral counties, including Garissa, Wajir, Turkana, Marsabit, Mandera, and most parts of the country. Mr. Speaker, from last year, the Meteorological Department gave a very bleak picture on the expected rains in the country. This year, the situation, Mr. Speaker, has not been different, and with the reduced and depressed or no rains, including the short rains, Kenyans in the arid and semi-arid areas are experiencing what I have never seen before, and nothing short of a humanitarian crisis. Mr. Speaker, indeed, during the month of August 2021, most arid and semi-arid counties, including my own county of Garissa, remained generally dry, and rainfall received was below average. Mr. Speaker, I have just come back from Garissa, and Mr. Speaker, I am sure the country is cognizant of the situation in the north. It has never happened. It has never happened. The last time we saw this kind of drought was in 2011. And last month, Mr. Speaker, the President declared the drought a national disaster. The situation is likely to worsen in the second half of 2021 with the negative consequences for household food security, for crop production, for livestock production, especially for my people who are largely pastoralists, and access to water is a big issue. Mr. Speaker, the drought that has affected this part of the country and most of the Kenyans in this country has been made worse by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has adverse effects on both the economy, the social status of these residents, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you'll recall, although the drought can be traced to last year, the phenomena started even earlier when the country was faced by the locust invasion, which cleared all the vegetation in the arid and semi-arid counties. Mr. Speaker, I really want this House to look at the Kenya Food Security Outlook report and the National Drought Management Authority report that projects that in the pastoral areas, livestock conditions have deteriorated due to lack of vegetation and access to water. Mr. Speaker, mothers and children and our herders were trekking for over 50 kilometers in search of water and pasture. Mr. Speaker, you have seen not only the pastoralist livelihood is affected and their lives, but even the wildlife. And I'm sure colleagues have seen on social media a giraffe that has been affected and has gone blind, and you have seen young men giving water to, a very insensitive and dire situation. You will not imagine, Mr. Speaker, that these people in this region of the country are not part of Kenya. That there is no government that is sensitive to. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, if these short rains are not realized this month or end of this month and next month, then there will be a serious humanitarian catastrophe in all these regions. Mr. Speaker, or at least 2.1 million Kenyans who are severely food insecure, and this number is expected to rise to 2.4 million people by next month. Over 465,000 children under the age of 5 and 93,000 pregnant or lactating mothers are actually malnourished in this region, Mr. Speaker. Quite unfortunate. As a country, we must protect our children and women. And for me today, I want to stand to be counted. Mr. Speaker, from the statistics given by the government, over 2 million Kenyans are now facing severe starvation, which might lead to death. And according to the Flash Appeal Kenya Drought Report, there is need for $139.5 million that is required to avert the drought crisis. Honorable Speaker, what is the government doing about this? After declaring the drought a national disaster, what next? And what response strategies have we put in place to provide life-saving and life-sustaining? Mr. Speaker, our counties have been denied their resources by the National Treasury. Counties are only receiving recurrent. If today our counties are receiving their emergency funds, I am sure our governors and our leaders will be up to the task to at least provide water and food to our people. Mr. Speaker, it is very disheartening, it is very shameful that today in 2021, one of our own, a pastoralist whose constituency has been worst affected, is at the helm of the National Treasury. History will judge us. He will be remembered as a minister who looked and watched as our people die when he was sending money to other areas where there is water and food. Shame on him, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the essence of my adjournment motion is we need to find solution. Government needs to provide solution. Government needs to rally the donor community. Government needs to rally the private sector, the way we did it in 2011, and saves the lives of its people. Mr. Speaker, you can read what is going on in the Horn of Africa. Other countries are doing better. Mr. Speaker, I am sure the over 80 members of parliament who come from these 14 counties, unfortunately most of them are not here. Most of them are not here. I said most. Mr. Speaker, this is, I said most if you have gone to an English class. I'm sure there are some. Yes, Honorable Chachu is here, Honorable Sophia, I can count. The Sonkop and Kolosh and many others from Meru and everywhere. And Honorable Member for North. I am sure this and the member for Siolo North. This is the time when and Tharaka, member for Tharaka. This is the time, more than any other time, when we must rise to the occasion. We must forget our political affiliation. Those who are in the handshake need to walk to the National Treasury. Those who are in this house and in other political affiliation, we must discard. We must not behave like the petition that in either way gave Honorable Raso to be the winner, because the original report was implicating him. The amendment was not wanted. So, Honorable Raso, you are a winner, and I have said it. Mr. Speaker, I want the Budget Committee of this House. I want the National Security Committee of this House. They must rise to the occasion. We must call government to order. We must call the CS National Treasury, CS Devolution, CS Matiangi. The people of the North are dying, and they are not dying not because of the constant insecurity that they face, not because of diseases. They are dying because of the effects of drought. They are dying because government response is not there, or it is very slow. We want to ask government to talk to its friends and partners and create a humanitarian crisis appeal to all our friends that food, water. Mr. Speaker, in the 10th Parliament, and Honorable Millie Odhiambo will agree with me, in the 2011, when Prime Minister Raila Odinga was the man in charge and President Kibaki, the military and the NYS with their trucks were mobilized, and each constituency there were over 10 trucks doing water tracking. What is wrong with this government? Why is this government so insensitive? What has the people of Northern Kenya committed? And I want to ask our friends who are running around with an outfit called Upya or Upuzi. You will face the wrath of the Almighty God. Our people are dying,
and you are selling Upuzi to our people. Our people will not buy that Upuzi. Our people, they know what kind of leaders they will choose. The contest is between Raila Odinga and William Ruto. Tell us, the people of Upuzi, who is your candidate? Yeah, you better say it. Why are you hiding? When you were in Garissa, you said it was Raila Odinga. When you come back, you want to hide. The horses have been defined. Shame on you, those in government from northern Kenya. Shame on you. Shame on you. You are working on the graves of your people.
Honorable members, this business is business under Order 33, which is a matter of urgent national interest. It's not a matter for one region of the country. So as we go on, you will remember that each member contributing will have 5 minutes. And honorable members, I'm proposing to just follow the list the way it is. So don't carry up your hands, don't interfere. The list is here, I'll just follow it. And the first one on my list is the Honorable Garane Hire, member for Ladder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want to support this adjournment motion. Mr. Speaker, the situation in the north is dire. Mr. Speaker, on August 2021, a similar adjournment motion was brought to this House, which we exhaustively debated. And Mr. Speaker, 3 months down the line, you will see absolutely no response on the ground. Mr. Speaker, even after the President of the Republic of Kenya has declared the drought as a national disaster, the response has been painfully slow, if at all there is any, because we have been to the constituencies, we have been to the counties, and absolutely nothing is going on. Mr. Speaker, I don't know when this help will come. We have allocated 2 billion shillings to respond to this. But you see, the sad thing about this is this response will come when all our livestock are dead, when our people are dead, and when everybody, is seriously, affected by this drought. So, Mr. Speaker, we are questioning, why, what is wrong? What's wrong with this government? We have been crying every day and night so that our people can get some help. But, Mr. Speaker, I don't know the people of the north, whether they belong to this country or not. Because in other places, Mr. Speaker, if a landslide occurs, we will see choppers, we will see, a lot of humanitarian response. But, Mr. Speaker, an area as vast as northern Kenya is getting no response, even by the declaration of the President as a national disaster. So, Mr. Speaker, you see, KDF has thousands of water boozers. NYS has thousands of water boozers. All these water boozers are lying, idle in the camps. Why don't they be taken to the north to give water to our people? Mr. Speaker, we were told that the government has a program called Offtake, that they are going to buy livestock from, the weak livestock from our people. But, Mr. Speaker, nothing is going on. We were told they are going to provide, grass. Hay. Mr. Speaker, we were told they are going to provide hay to the livestock. Nothing is going on. NDMA has got billions lying in the accounts. What are they doing with it? Mr. Speaker, this is a sad state. This is a very sorry state, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if nothing is not done in the next couple of days, we will not be talking about the people in the north. You see so many people, presidential candidates, are encouraging people to go and register. How does a hungry man go and register as a voter? They can't even get water. They are not even there at their villages. They have moved thousands of kilometers, some into Ethiopian border, some into Somalia border. So, Mr. Speaker, you just wonder, a country like Kenya cannot do, a proper response, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, weaker countries, neighboring weaker countries have better response than our country. Mr. Speaker, these are some of the saddest things. Mr. Speaker, And finally, Upya is the new kid on the block. Upya is the new kid on the block. Upya is a vehicle we are going to negotiate, and it's a vehicle we are going to sit at the table. Because I'm sure if Upya now will be having a stake in the government, we will not be talking about these issues we are having now. Because somebody will be sitting at the table to raise the issues on Northern Kenya. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I support this motion. Thank you very much. And it's not Upuzi, it's called Upya.
The member for Ijara, the Honorable Nur Sophia.
Thank you so much, Chair, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this very, very important motion, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, I want to thank the mover of the motion, Honorable Adam Barre Duale. Two, and Mr. Speaker, it is really very, very sad situation that we are facing in the north. Mr. Speaker, I have been to the constituency, and what I have seen, I have never seen such a kind of situation in my constituency, Ijara, Mr. Speaker. People have migrated as far as Wajir, Marsabit, and everywhere you'll find the animals in my constituency. And they are dying in numbers, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is really hurting to see a pastoralist man crying or killing himself because he has lost his animals, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, we have had a lot of wildlife-human conflict, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the number of people who have been hurt because of fight between the animals, wildlife and human, fighting over the small resources within the region is also a huge number who have been affected, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the children and the elderly people who are left behind in the houses are dying in numbers. At this time, when we have COVID with us, we do not have anything to give to those people, Mr. Speaker. They do not have any meal, they are elderly, they are left behind, they do not have people who can even ferry for them water in their houses, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have the young who are under 5, Mr. Speaker. They do not have water, they do not have milk, they do not have anything in their houses because the animals have shifted. The animals have crossed borders, both to Ethiopia and Somalia, Mr. Speaker. We do not have any animals within the around. Those which are around are very weak and dying, Mr. Speaker. If you go, the media has not covered this disaster, Mr. Speaker. If you go to those constituencies, and what you will witness is that you will not eat food for the next 5 days, Mr. Speaker, because of the situation that is on ground, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is only not important to declare disaster. When His Excellency the President has declared drought as a national disaster, Mr. Speaker, and there's nothing that follows up after that, it becomes a problem. Mr. Speaker, our appeal is beyond this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Kenyan government has taken responsibility and they have taken oath, Mr. Speaker, of protecting and supporting and reaching out to the vulnerable communities within this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when we have a problem, like the problem we are facing with tea and coffee, immediately we have got subsidies, Mr. Speaker. But when it comes to livestock, Mr. Speaker, and livestock is the backbone economy of the region, Mr. Speaker, we do not have proper plan and strategy to address the problems that are facing the community, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other major issue is water is a basic and human right under the Constitution, under Article 42 and 43. At this time of era, Mr. Speaker, when people and animals are dying because there is no water within the boundary of this country, Mr. Speaker, it is very saddening. It's very sad. It is very inhuman. It is disaster, Mr. Speaker. I cannot believe at this era that a person will die because there is no water in this country, Mr. Speaker, in a village. Mr. Speaker, both the national government and the county government have failed the people of Northern Kenya. The people of Northern Kenya have been left alone, Mr. Speaker, at this time when they are really having the major problems, Mr. Speaker. And if you do not help the people of Northern Kenya today, when will be the time you will help them, Mr. Speaker? When? Because this is the time. This is the time. They have missed rains for 2 consecutive rainy seasons, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Guyo Ario, member for Garsen. The Honorable Guyo. The Honorable Guyo, you have just walked in. You will have to wait a little. All right, proceed. Now you are in the House. You are within the confines of the House. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also contribute on this matter. Mr. Speaker, the issue drought is really affecting our people. Mr. Speaker, people have lost livestock and have started to commit suicide because of the loss. So, Mr. Speaker, this matter has been announced as a national disaster by the President, but a little is being done on the ground. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm urging this House to urgently allocate all other matter of urgency to save those people and compensate the pastoralists for the loss, because the government is to advise the pastoralists on the weather so that they can plan to do either destocking and restocking. But there were no advice by the Ministry of Agriculture. So, Mr. Speaker, I request the government to compensate the pastoralists for the loss. Thank you.
You are done? Very well. The Honorable Lesankok, nominated member.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, as in the pastoralist region, not only in the north, even in the south, in Kajiado and Narok, Honorable Speaker, our animals are dying. Our people are dying, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, and the government is not willing to address this issue once and for all. And it is for a long time that we have been considered as an appendix without function, but exists nonetheless in this country. Yet we sit on 80% of the landmass of this country. We sit on natural resources like the wind power in Turkana, like the oil in Turkana, like the geothermal electric power in Narok, and tourism that is a source of foreign honor in our country, Honorable Speaker. But we are not being treated equally with other parts of this country. And it's a high time that we say we must be treated like others. Honorable Speaker, when you see some of us passionately fighting for the leadership of the hustlers, Honorable Speaker, it is because these leaders know what it means by going hungry, Honorable Speaker. Some of our leaders who are born with a silver spoon, Honorable Speaker, if you tell them that you did not eat food, Honorable Speaker, they will check your temperatures and see if you have malaria or typhoid or lack of appetite, Honorable Speaker, because they don't know what it means to sleep hungry on an empty stomach, because your mother, your father have done everything possible but have not found anything to be eaten, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, our animals, Honorable Speaker, are not only emaciated, Honorable Speaker, but they are dying in large numbers. We plead through this House, Honorable Speaker, and through you, that the private companies, the Red Cross, the international community, come in and save us and give us humanitarian aid, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we need to rescue these people, Honorable Speaker. And it is not those days when maize or ration had to be transported to all this part of the country, Honorable Speaker. We are now in a digital era, Honorable Speaker. Money can be transferred digitally using M-Pesa or any other mobile money transfer, and it reach to the beneficiaries within seconds, and they have the purchasing power to save their dying children, Honorable Speaker, to save their dying pregnant women, Honorable Speaker, to save their dying fathers, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we need approximately 150 billion Kenya shillings for this project. I think the government can afford that one. The government is not too poor not to afford a mere 150 billion Kenya shillings to save its citizen, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we have heard of off-take project, Honorable Speaker. We have not seen. Personally, I have a ranch, Honorable Speaker. My cows are dying in large numbers, Honorable Speaker. We have only heard this thing over the media that they will be off-take, that they will buy our animals. But for how long will they be buying our animals, Honorable Speaker? It is high time that NDMA, Honorable Speaker, which is supposed to be a custodian of the funds that is for the arid and semi-arid region, come with projects, Honorable Speaker. Projects like harvesting grass, because during rainy season, the grass is more than the animals, Honorable Speaker. Harvesting those grass, putting into haze, Honorable Speaker. It is high time that we have animal feeds in our food reserve, Honorable Speaker. Because if you feed only human beings, you don't feed animals. Some of us are fed by those animals through milk and through meat, Honorable Speaker, and we may die because you are trying to feed human beings and not feeding animals at the same time. Honorable Speaker, lastly, these characters in the weather forecast, Honorable Speaker, they are earning without doing their job, Honorable Speaker. If they were predicting well, the weather well, Honorable Speaker, the country will be able to prepare itself. Even the pastoralists must be able to prepare themselves. President declared drought as a national disaster. Declaring it only is not enough. That's why we are telling our president, with due respect, our president, your citizens are dying. Come and save them, because they elected you so that you can protect them. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I do support this motion.
The Honorable Millie Odhiambo. And you inform me whether it is possible to sleep when you are hungry, because when you are hungry, I don't think you can sleep. It is a very troubling thing. Proceed, the Honorable Millie Odhiambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. For a moment, I thought sleeping when you're hungry was aimed at me. But, Mr. Speaker, that aside, I just want to say that I support this, Mr. Speaker. And I want to indicate that, Mr. Speaker, that this is as a consequence of climate change. And, Mr. Speaker, climate change manifests itself in various ways. In the north, it manifests itself as drought. In my constituency, we actually have overflooding. The waters are rising. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, at around 8 p.m., I was moving from Fangano Island to Rusinga Island, and I almost drowned with my team because of the waters. And, Mr. Speaker, even 2 days ago, we lost yet another 3 people in the lake because of this. Mr. Speaker, so I would just want to urge the government that in dealing with this, we should not be having sporadic efforts, but we should look at this issue holistically as a consequence of climate change and deal with the issue of climate change and seek lasting solutions, being realistic about what we are dealing with. And we must also be innovative. Where there is too much, needs to balance with where there is lack. Like in my area, people are dying because of water. Actually, there were yesterday, because there was such a huge storm, the trees were uprooted, houses, people lost their houses yesterday. And, Mr. Speaker, it is also not good because the weather is also now very erratic. People don't know when to plant because before it was November, now it's a different scenario. But I want to say that we have actually seen what is going on in the northern Kenya. And it is a tragedy that many people are dying. And I want to thank one of the media houses that rain actually what was going on. And one of the greater challenges, Mr. Speaker, is that we actually have governors who are also mandated to do the kind of work that we are still seeking the national government to do. One of the areas that was under focus was Turkana. And we are not being told, for instance, what the county is doing. But they also have money, Mr. Speaker. So I just want to encourage our governors that we need to have a paradigm shift, a mental paradigm shift. It's not just a national government. And I also want to encourage the members in the House that are also blaming the national government, that you must know that when the president declares drought a national disaster, it comes with implications, Mr. Speaker. It means resources will follow that decision. And you cannot expect that a declaration and immediately things have changed. So I think members need to know that. But as a House, we must bring it to the attention of the government that this is a crisis that we want to deal with. Mr. Speaker, it is unfortunate that my dear good friend and brother, Honorable Duale, would want to attack people who are busy doing their own work, calling Upya Upuzi. Mr. Speaker, when we know very well that we have Ufisadi Daima, which he belongs to, so you'd rather have Upuzi than have Ufisadi Daima, because Ufisadi Daima is actually what is resulted in Kemarera and Arar, that is also causing people to die because of drought, because of the issue of corruption. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want him to know that do not throw glasses in stones at a glass when you live in a glass house. And him actually lives in a very brittle glass house, Mr. Speaker. We don't want a lot of noise with no action, as we have just seen right now. And so, Mr. Speaker, let us look at assisting Kenyans without bringing unnecessary sideshows. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Murugara Gitonga, member for Tharaka.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm quite distant from my neighbors, so allow me to just talk without my mask on and rise to support this very important motion moved by Honorable Duale, that we actually discuss the issue of drought in the country as a matter of national importance. While there is a very good case made out for the northeastern regions, may I draw the attention of the country and of the government that drought is also ravaging my constituency, Tharaka. Actually, Tharaka borders northeastern and also borders the eastern Ukambani and all those areas that are afflicted by drought. And as we pray for the short rains to come in, it is evident that we are going to have hardships in these areas and in my constituency, and the government must take immediate action to ensure that the situation is remedied. There is an acute shortage of food and pasture, and we are afraid that we may start losing livestock. But most important is lack of food, especially now that children are back in school. We are calling upon the government to ensure that we have sufficient relief food which we can give out to schools so that our children are kept learning while we await the rains and the crops to mature. There is also totally lack of water. We have many rivers that traverse the Tharaka constituency, but most of them have dried. Some of it is due to the climatic changes that occur, but also we know for sure that in upper areas that border Tharaka, there may be illegal blockages that may actually lead to the reduction of the water and drying up of the rivers. And I've called upon the government to act with speed. If there are illegal blockages of these rivers, this must be undone. This drought menace is evidence that rain-fed agriculture is actually not reliable. And the government must move away from telling Kenyans, wait for rains to plant, wait for rains to harvest, to ensuring that we have sufficient irrigation water throughout the country, and especially in my constituency, Tharaka. We are able to construct dams and dikes which can harvest this water and which can store it so that it is used for purposes of agriculture, livestock, and also human consumption. The National Drought Management Authority is one entity in the country whose functions cannot be explained at all. And especially when I'm told it has offices in Tharaka, while I have been waiting for them to take action on the matters drought, and nothing whatsoever has been done regarding this. I must today raise the voice for my constituents that drought is actually afflicting the people. Drought is going to lead to children dropping out of school. Drought is going to lead to great loss of livestock because we do not know whether these rains will come soon or they may be prolonged. In these circumstances, it is purely and it's on the shoulders of our government and nobody else, absolutely. The national government, the executive, to ensure we have sufficient money that is going to buy relief food, that is going to ensure water is given to areas where there is no water, and also, if necessary, we got to get pasture for our livestock. The county government must also come in, and we have also seen very little of the county government of Tharaka Nithi as regards this drought. They have the money, let them make use of that money wisely. The children of Tharaka constituency are not children of a lesser God. They are Kenyans like everyone else, and therefore these matters of drought must also be addressed for my constituency as we address the rest of Kenya, including Northeastern. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well spoken. The Honorable Mohammed Kolosh, member for Wajir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to join my colleagues in support of this adjournment motion, and because of the seriousness of this drought. Honorable Speaker, the effect and the problems caused by the drought has been said by those who spoke before me. But it's important to say that it seems there is a wider government strategy to punish the people of northern Kenya for reasons we don't know. Honorable Speaker, the inaction by government, especially on the response to the drought, can just be described as genocide. Because when government, because of inaction of government, people lose their property and their lives, then it is as good as saying the government has caused the problem. Honorable Speaker, there are many problems that government has instigated. Some of them include the educational crisis in the north. For the last 3 years, our children have not seen teachers. Honorable Speaker, the insecurity, the report we have just been debating in Marsabit is just but one. Every other constituency in the region has one problem or the other related to security, whether it is Al-Shabaab, clan clashes, or differences between communities, but the government does nothing to bring those problems to stop. It seems that the government enjoys the problems taking place in the north. Honorable Speaker, to make matters worse, our people have been undercounted during the censoring period. This was a deliberate government policy. I can tell you and stand here that the number of people in my constituency have been reduced by half, and this I said many times. And this is where I disagree with members who think that now coalescing around some amorphous bodies like Upya or whatever will solve our problems. There is no table that is higher and stronger than being in the cabinet secretary, being a cabinet secretary for treasury. If today we are in the cabinet and cabinet secretary for treasury and we can't do anything, up to and including sending the emergency funds for our counties to respond, then I don't know what other table we are going to sit to improve the livelihoods of our people. Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Chris Wamalwa, you are out of order.
Honorable Speaker, yesterday I sent photos of a dumping site of livestock, the ones that have died and have been collected from villages and whatever. The communities in my constituency have created a number of dumping sites. I sent those photos to the President, just to tell him and to alert him that this is what is going on. Even the drought that has been declared as a national disaster was not declared because of the report of the institutions that were charged with such responsibilities, like the NDMA. But because of politicians visiting and begging the president to declare drought as a national disaster, and even after that, no action has been taken. The minister in charge of devolution has visited my county 3 or 4 days ago. Not a quarter of whatever he has said he has come with has been delivered to the site. Not a quarter, whether it is animal feeds or food for the people. Not a quarter of what he said he came with has been taken to the ground. So we are just being shown semantics that government is forming. Photos, you are taking photos with dying people and livestock. People have lost their animals. Honorable Speaker, it is important for the people of the North to learn that this government does not care about their interests, their lives, and their properties, and therefore look for a method to cope with their problems. Honorable Speaker, finally, the weatherman has spoken and has said that the rains in the north will be short of the expectations. We pray to God that they miss this one and that they will not get it right. But if that comes to pass, the situation is expected to worsen. This is why we want to urge government, and we have said it many times, I know they will not listen, to finally at one point listen to this problem. Because the people of the North will one day rise and find how it is.
The Honorable Hulufo Oda, member for Isiolo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank the mover of this motion. Indeed, the prevailing drought condition is a matter of national concern. I can confirm, as somebody who was born and brought up in Asal of Kenya, more specifically in the arid part of this republic, that in my living memory, this is one of the worst droughts that we have experienced. Mr. Speaker, it has been worsened by the corona pandemic. Actually, in the north, the livestock market collapsed before we started experiencing drought because the consumers of our livestock products, particularly meat, from our beef cattle and also from our sheep and goats, most of them ended up being jobless, and therefore there was no demand for our products. And we have gone through 2 subsequent rain failures. As we speak, Mr. Speaker, 2.1 million people in Asal are at risk of starvation. And I thank the President for declaring this as a national disaster, but what we expected following that declaration was fast-tracking of implementation of appropriate interventions. Interventions that could save lives, interventions that could enable our children to remain in school, intervention that could help our people not die of starvation, intervention that could also help us protect our assets and our livelihood. Mr. Speaker, before I joined this House, I was an expert actually on drought risk management. In the year 2011, the last time we faced a drought of this magnitude, I was part of a consultative team which went around Horn of Africa, and as a country we developed what we call Ending Drought Emergency by 2022. 2022 is here with us. Unfortunately, as a country, after failure of two rainy seasons, we have ended up with an emergency. What this tells us